Listen, I'm a big fan of the Incarnon Gorgon. Legitimately, this is my favorite bullet hose style of assault rifle in the game. So naturally, I was very excited to hear that it's gonna be getting an Incarnon adapter. But the results are, well... Hey guys, welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today we're gonna be diving deeper into the Incarnon Gorgon. I have an endgame setup because these Incarnon Genesis adapters are anything but new player friendly. That said, we will still be going through everything that you need to know. What evolutions to pick, what kind of build options you have, what kind of performance you can expect out of the weapon. So that out of the way, let's jump into the Incarnon Gorgon. Let's begin by checking out how the weapon handles without any mods equipped. And for that, just a couple of our regular free shots. The Incarnon Gorgon can go two different ways. You can either go for the Wraith or you can go for the Prisma. Now, if you got one over the other, simply incarnate the one that you got, because there are differences when it comes to the values of the stats in the incarnations. Granted, the incarnations are the same, but the difference in values kind of bring them neck and neck. So there's not a whole lot of difference between one or the other. I would still go for the Prisma if you have both, because that one will have higher crit stats, and higher crit stats, big explosion, as you will see. Now, to charge the weapon, you gotta go for headshots, not body shots. Body shots will not be doing anything, sadly. Go for headshots. You're gonna be getting yourself an Incarnon charge right underneath your crosshairs. And by choosing the secondary fire mode, the weapon goes Incarnon form. Changes appearance, beautiful weapon, fantastic, and functionality as well. What is it? It's an explosive weapon, my friends. This one fires a projectile, like so. It embeds into a target or a surface, and after 1.2 seconds detonates in a by default 5-meter explosion. Fantastic, beautiful, yes, but unfortunately there is also a bit of a charge up to it, as you can see, and the charge up can be reduced with fire rate mods. Again, 5 meters on that fantastic explosion with a 1.2 second delay. But the best part about it, heat damage and 10% damage drop off. That's a very tiny drop off, which is fantastic for the weapon, but unfortunately the base damage is only at 700 and something, so it's not overly high. When it comes to the usability of the weapon, well, what can I tell you? It's slow and sluggish. From the absolutely agile bullet hose of a weapon that the Gorgon is, you go to this Incarnon form that takes a while to actually shoot your targets. Now, you can shoot in two different ways. You can either keep the shot in by keeping your trigger finger pressed down, and you can release when you're good and ready. Let's say you're doing Eidolon hunting with this one, and yes, it will be working fine for Eidolon hunting because it's got default heat damage, which makes it very easy for you to make in radiation, yes. But then again, you can farm Eidolons with a toothpick nowadays. And now you can also quickly tap the button like so. So, like this. And the weapon will be charging automatically and releasing at the end of the charge. So you don't necessarily need to keep your trigger finger pressed down. You can just simply tap and the weapon will discharge automatically. Evolution 1 simply enables the transformation. Your first choice comes at Evolution 2. And you got this one, Hoplite Virtue. And you heard this one before, haven't you? Increases damage by 5, that's a flat amount. And on shield break increases damage by 8 for 8 seconds. I really dislike the 8 seconds part. So essentially this one will be dependent on a Warframe that continuously has its shield broken. Highly situational. Why only for 8 seconds? Anyway, the second option is called Hunter's Mantra. Increases damage also by 5, the same amount, with channeled abilities active, free punch through, that is 3 meters, and 40% accuracy. Obviously this one will only help you in normal form, not Incarnon form, because the punch through doesn't really work. You're not going to be getting multiple explosions out of that projectile, and the accuracy is not really required in Incarnon form, only in normal form, and it's with channeled abilities active, just to put a cherry on top of the shit cake that this talent is. So next we got Evolution 3, and this is the usability tree. This one will be fantastic if you choose to Felarx the weapon and use it in its normal form, which I guess is what I'm going to be doing mostly. On reload from empty, you get increased magazine capacity by 15. This one stacks up to 3 and it remains at 45 for the entire duration of the mission. Rapid reinforcement, 50% reload speed. This one helps with the transformation from normal form to Incarnon form, and of course would reload on the normal form as well. And minus 50% weapon recoil, which is called Void's Guidance. This again helps you a whole lot on the weapon's usability front, especially for normal form when the weapon goes like zzz. Then again, you do have an excellent slot, so you can pick and choose depending on how you're going to be modding. Realistically speaking, this one would be the best for normal form. If not, just go for some reload speed. It doesn't really matter all that much. Now, prepare to be disappointed. This is Evolution 4, the most powerful of evolutions. God. Check this one out. Survivor's Edge. 2% crit. It's so bad. I can't say it with a straight face. It's fucking horrible. 2% critical chance and 6 status chance. Yeah. Awesome. Next one, Elemental Balance, 12% status chance, and the final one, Absolute Valor, 6% critical chance. Woo, woo, woo. So here's the deal. These values will be higher on the crit side and lower on the status side if you're gonna be Incarnon in the Wraith version, because that one is heavily weighted into status chance. This one is more into critical chance, considering the Incarnon form, which we're gonna be focusing on, because that's what you came to see, yes, the Incarnon form. We're gonna be focusing on more crit, one big explosion that hurts, so we're gonna go with Absolute Valor. Pick and choose, whatever you want, it's not gonna make that big of a difference. So, in terms of a build, the Prismatic Gorgon is actually quite new player friendly. It's a fantastic bullet hose in its normal form, and the kind of build you'll be looking at would be something like this. Now, my friends, if you're more of a newer player and you actually wanna learn how to build your stuff, and why does this go like that, or what does this do, and how does this work, watch my full and detailed Prismatic Gorgon guide. Click the cards right now. For the time being, we're going to be focusing on the end game setup for this one, which will be looking something along these lines. So we're going to be tackling galvanized mods, prime mods, etc. Let me get one thing out of the way. This is not one of the best Incarnon weapons. No, it wouldn't even make a top 10. It's not. It's one big explosion that is a bit... Well, it's big, but it's kind of flaccid in that sense, and you'll see exactly what I mean. I got one big explosion, right? And the explosion does what? It does heat damage by default. So what I can do, with considering the high critical stats, look 33% because of the talents I chose, and with critical delay, I'm going to 99%. 99% primary, obviously, hunter munitions. Yes, I'm also making vital on the weapon with prime rounds and infected clip. You can switch to the 60s, it's not gonna make a difference. I would recommend you go this way for the biggest wallop of flat damage that you can. Speaking about flat damage, Primary Merciless is here for the flat damage inspiration as well. You can substitute a Bane mode. A Bane mode definitely works on this one because you're going to be getting a whole lot of damage from the damage over time aspect, so you can also replace Prime Firestorm if you want to. Blast radius 44%, that means what? That means your explosion goes from 5 to 7.2, if I remember correctly. I feel like this one is definitely worth it, especially considering the damage drop-off is only 10%. In the Excellent slot, you guys can put in here whatever you feel comfortable with. Whatever. Stabilizer. Yeah, stabilizer. Why not? Yeah, sure. Minus weapon recoil. It doesn't really matter all that much. Right, we're going to be testing out the weapon like so you can see what it can do. Level 165 corrupted heavy goons with these steel path modifiers enabled. Now, initially, the weapon will look really bad until I get my stacks of stuff. And then it will look less bad. Let's go for headshots. Yeah, I am charging my weapon. There you go, my weapon is charged. This is the kind of performance you can expect in normal form. If I was to build a weapon for normal form, I would also be including galvanized aptitude. You probably didn't see it on the build. Laser, galvanized aptitude. What the hell? Look at that. It's an explosion. The damage benefit doesn't work on the explosion. Yes, that's how these galvanized mods, these galvanized aptitudes and galvanized shot and galvanized shotgun thing works. So now you got yourself the explosion. You don't need to go for a body shot or anything of the sort. The actual contact damage between the explosive projectile and the target is negligible, so normally you should be using the weapon like this. Shoot for the feet, you got that big explosion. Yes, 7.2 meters with a 10% damage drop off. That is the point. So the weapon will be killing targets eventually if it gets the procs. The problem is, even though the critical chance is high and all whatnot at 99%, so that means you are going to be getting some hunter munitions and everything, and I flew into that one just to show you that yes, it does knock you back. The problem is you're still faced with not a whole lot of damage instances per se. So that means your procs are not really going to be all that consistent. This is the kind of performance you can expect out of the weapon. Now, of course, we can push it even further than this with something like a Riven mod, even though I feel like most of you guys are not going to be having a Riven mod for the weapon. It's a dispo 4 out of 5, so Riven mods are not to be discounted, they are not to be ignored. The maximum charge, by the way, is going to be 20 bullets or 20 projectiles or 20 explosions for this one. And in case it wasn't clear, yes, the projectile does have travel time. It cannot be detonated early, however. So you can either shoot for the feet or embed your projectiles in a target, and this is the kind of performance you can expect. Yes, my friends, no, it is not fantastic. Now, what can you do? How can you improve the performance of this one if I'm not going to be taking into account the Riven, which is very situational, and maybe you have it, maybe you don't. You can take area of effect, armor removal or defense removal, something like Hildren's Pillage. Put it on a Warframe, remove them, and then clump them up and destroy them like that. But my friends, if I'm going to be relying on that level of Warframe buffs, and yes, Vital from Grendel's thing, then I don't know how to tell you, but a toothpick will kill your targets if you remove all the defenses that the enemy has. So to me, that's more of an excuse. You can make anything work like that. The performance of the weapon simply isn't all that fantastic, and yes, I'm a little bit disappointed. You can choose whatever build variations you like, and we also tried flat damage as much as we can to make the biggest explosion that we can, and that will work in normal level content. When it comes to higher level steel path damage, flat damage simply drops off very quickly because of the high amount of mitigation that your targets have. And you can't consistently input a whole lot of procs into your targets because essentially there's one big explosion and it's terribly slow. Now what you can do is sacrifice one of the mods for something like fire rate to make the weapon feel a whole lot less sluggish, but that won't really do a whole lot for the actual performance. It just feels a little bit better because it wasn't bad enough to make like the whole charge thing that you need for the weapon to fire its projectile. You also needed to put an embedded delay. Now, embedded delay doesn't really hurt all that badly if you're able to consistently fire out projectiles, and even with something like vial acceleration. Why do I have two? Oh, vial acceleration, vial precision. This will make the weapon feel better, but it's not really doing a whole lot for the actual capabilities. Go for the headshot! Yes, this is how I prefer to use the weapon. This is not even a build catered around the normal version, so I'm probably gonna be Flaccid this one. Okay, so this is the maximum rate of fire right here. Look at that. Yeah! Baby! Explosion. I can do so much better than this with like 5 other explosive weapons. But there you go. This is a way you can play with the weapon. I'm not saying that the weapon isn't usable or anything of the sort, but this is an Incarnon weapon. I was expecting more. Of course, there's the topic of the Bane mod. I'm not sure if I tackled it or not. If you think that a Bane mod will make the biggest difference in this kind of a setup, you're not entirely right, not at all, but let's do the following. Let's forget about the explosion range and let's go with Prime Bane of the Corrupted. If we're talking about flat damage, I need at least 2 sources. I got my Serration and my Primary Merciless for the time being. Yes, yes, okay, let's go like so. One more time, same targets as before. You prefer the Wraith one? Again, we already talked about the Wraith thing. You can go for the Wraith, you can go for the Prisma. It's not really gonna make much of a difference. Actually, for the explosion thing, the Prisma is still better because of the higher critical numbers. But just simply Incarnon the one that you have at your disposal. Don't waste your time going for the one that you don't have. Simply Incarnon the one that you have. Hopefully Digital Extremes will give us some buffs regarding this. Okay, now we got a couple of kills, so we're gonna be able to stack up that Arcane. What do we got? 4 stacks isn't all that fantastic. Now, in actual gameplay, the weapon will be looking better simply because in actual gameplay, you don't just get a pack of Corrupted Heavy Goons. These are some very, very tough targets. So you're going to be able to stack your Arcanes a whole lot quicker. So that's what we're going to be doing next. Yes, we're going to go for Steel Path gameplay with Papa Revenant. Welcome to the Void, my friends. Now let's see what the weapon can do. We're going to be charging it really quick via headshots, like so. And then we're going to be going for the explosion or the Incarnon form. Because if you want to build the weapon in its normal form, then you should check out my regular Incarnon Gorgon guide. That one will suffice a whole lot more when it comes to using it as a bullet hose. So, when it comes to the actual explosion, in normal gameplay, this is going to be a whole lot more satisfying and easy to stack Arcane and everything, simply because, again, these are not some of the most toughest targets in the game. These are just some butchers, you get yourself some crewman, the Corrupted and all whatnot, so these explosions are essentially going to be one-shotting these targets. The weapon is, again, a little bit on the slow slide, so do consider vial acceleration for them. But we got it. Look at that, I already got like 12 stacks of my Arcane, so it's pretty easy to stack this one on normal targets. But I don't measure performance on fodder enemies. I don't think it's all that relevant. Hello, sweetheart. Yes. You want me to blow on this?
Get ready for a capsule.
It doesn't work, it's defective, sweetheart. Tell mama to get you a new one, alright? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Alright, where was I? Yes, I was telling you that it's easy to one-shot shitty targets, which, again, I don't feel makes an argument for this weapon. Now, my stance on it is the fact that I do not like this level of performance for a Incarnon weapon, for a brand new Incarnon weapon. If this was just a new weapon straight out of the gate, a brand new weapon or even a prime weapon on an existing normal counterpart, this would have been fine. I don't feel this is fine for Incarnon level of the performance, which should be the ultimate level of performance when it comes to weapons in Warframe, or at least that's how Digital Extremes has played it up until this point. That's not to say that the weapon is not usable or it can kick ass in normal level steel path. As you can see, you can easily one-shot targets without any issue, and you're gonna have no problem whatsoever clearing normal level steel path. But you're not gonna be comparing this one to something like a Breton, a Burston, a Miter, a Latron. It's not in that league. Again, it would not make a top 10 of Incarnon weapons. I mean, how can I put this? The Incarnon Lex is like 5 classes above this one, and the Lex is a secondary at the end of the day. And I do believe, my friends, that pretty much encompasses everything that I wanted to share regarding this weapon. It's not a bad weapon by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a bad Incarnon weapon. Now, there's still one more thing which I do want to show you. I think it's relevant to see an Acolyte fight. Gentlemen, it was just brought to my attention that I forgot to talk about Metamorphic Magazine. Metamorphic Magazine does nothing in its Incarnon form and works fantastically well in its normal form. So, once again, another reason to use the weapon in its normal form. If you enjoy using Metamorphic Magazine, that is the brand new augment for it that adds crowd control to your targets. There we go, that's the Acolyte. Now I'm gonna be waiting for it patiently here. Here it is. I'm gonna do the explosion thing. Come on. Stand still, please. Don't move. I can't hit moving targets. What are you talking about? So, 3 explosions it took to take out the Acolyte, which from my point of view, that is pretty good performance. Again, you do have that flat damage on that big explosion. On an Incarnon weapon of this caliber, I would have loved to see in a one-shot, but I guess a 3-shot isn't horrible, and by my calculations, you should be able at this level to get a 2-shot as well. And that's pretty much it, my friends. I'm a little bit disappointed with the weapon, it's true, but I'm a Gorgon fan. I'm a Gorgon fan, so therefore my opinion is entirely subjective. As always, my name is Lazar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe only if you enjoy the content. If you got any feedback for me, I would love to read it in the comment section down below. Next on the list, we're going to the Angstrom, and I'm gonna link it in the cards right now when it's done. I'll catch you guys in the next one.